Welcome back. I hope you all are fine, doing good, engaged in studying the very fundamentals of air pollution, what are their sources, effects, and then mitigation strategies. Apart from this one, apart from my lectures, I also I have been advising you to read more and learn more, so that because these lectures are just kind of to start with, and then if you want to have a deeper understanding, especially masters and PhD students, you need to read more and more for this one. So these lectures, although I have in the previous two lectures I discussed about deposition of micronutrients and how they impact the ocean biogeochemistry. There is a and then we discussed about different micronutrients that are there actually in the atmosphere, which can affect ocean biogeochemistry, how it can affect the ocean pH, how it can reflect how it can affect the lives of the microorganisms that are there in the ocean. In these lectures, which is very interesting again, Aeolian dust, which is a natural source of mineral dust aerosols in the atmosphere, and how it is linked with the climate. This will be discussed. So I hope you will enjoy these lectures. So these are the different atmospheric particles we discussed about, and if you see the size here, the size of the particles is actually like 1 micron to 10 micron, which is defined as the coarse mode aerosols, and mineral dust are mostly they are in this fraction, so more than 2.5 or 10 micron. The size can be little bit higher. And then you have sea spray, which is even important for this one, which is also source of some of the micronutrients, although they are transported, then become part of aerosols, and then they are of course deposited back to the ocean or the land or the aquatic bodies. But in this one we will discuss mostly that how actually they affect this one. So this is actually given the example of how the particle size of the atmospheric particles are there in there. So before we start, we need to know what are the arid and semi-arid regions in the world. This is very important, and the map is given for the non-polar one. So it is non-polar, and this map is after 1953. So the dark kind of red, not red, but yellowish and little reddish, they tell actually that these are actually extremely arid. Then the yellow is actually like dark yellow is like semi arid and are arid actually, and then the pale yellow is actually like representing the semi arid regions. So aridity is very important when we discussed about the Aeolian dust. So it is related to the dryness of the surface and the composition, which is mostly that is there. So composition of the, as we know that Earth's surface are not uniformly distributed. You have places like you have lands, you can have water bodies, you can have even mountains, you can have glaciers. So similarly these areas are affected, and if you see the aridity, these are the locations for the Sahara, then western part, then Africa is here, Thar desert in India, okay. Some of the parts are here in the Middle East, Europe, and then partly here in which place it will be? It will be actually Russia. So if you see here, then not only that, you have here like places like Southampton, and then Great Sandy. So this is actually this one, and you see here these places are very close to the ocean, so they are not actually arid, but they are arid and semi-arid kind of things. So where the oceans will be there, they will not have this one, but mostly you can see. So almost we have a fair distribution of arid aerosols, and these arid aerosols, now you can again imagine that during the earth formation how beautifully the nature has created all the things. Okay, because for example, suppose this aridity could be there in India, nothing can be grown, but you have so semi-arid regions and then arid regions, so and then very fertile lands. And then mineral dust resources, sources and trajectories, how they move actually, because they cannot be actually moved, they need to be moved, and then they need to be transported. So for example, from here if you see these locations, the wind can be deposited over the Arabian Sea. So Arabian Sea receives a lot of dust aerosols from like Thar deserts and then African deserts. Okay, so Thar and African deserts give a lots of dust aerosols to the Arabian Sea, and therefore impacting their ocean biogeochemistry. Okay, then you have Thar desert here, you have a Takli Makan deserts, and this contributes lots of dust aerosols over from the China and its neighboring places. Then here you have two different kind of sources, so see, you can see the different processes that can be affecting. So this is really very important geographically, that you have to understand that how and which places this dust can have impact. And dust can not only have impact on the water bodies, they can impact the air quality, and they can impact the radiative balance. Okay, so emission of dust, how this dust is emitted, you need to have a threshold velocity, size, minimum size, vegetation, whether it is a rock type, this will be affecting rock are there, or vegetation, and then soil moisture. These four things will be actually affecting the emission of the dust, and hence these aerosols are, for example, uplifted, okay, up in the atmosphere. They can be either long range transport, or they can be gravitationally, they can be settled. So there will be actually this process, there will be some suspended aerosols or suspension of aerosols. Sometimes wind can actually, curly winds can actually lead to the circulating there, and then they can be still remaining there, and then they can be deposited. Then you can have like kind of gravitational settling, or wind currents, they can take it up, they can spread the aerosols, like plumes are coming, plumes comes and then it spread like this, and then the aerosols are deposited. Then you can have sand blasting as well, actually different fragments, collisions, they are actually collide with each other, they can be either aggregated, they can form a bigger dust aerosols, or they can be actually just broken into smaller ones. So dust generation is actually a very complex process that responds to a non-linear way to a variety of the environmental factors. So dust emission is highly variable on a spatial and temporal scale. So because of this one, even if you have a very high threshold velocity, if it is covered with the vegetation and rock, or the soil moisture is there, the dust will not be actually uplifted. So there will be very less dust emission in this one. And then if you just calculate the dust fluxes to the world ocean, you can see here they contribute a huge amount of dust here, especially you see here this area in India, and then you see here this portion is contributing a lot, then very close to these places. This another very important source from Taklimakan deserts to these places. So this is very important actually. Dust is not just actually a dust, it contains lots of micronutrients. And over the North Atlantic Ocean, if you just see deposition fluxes, about 43% deposition happens in the North Atlantic Ocean, then South Atlantic about 4%, North Pacific about 15%, South Pacific about 6%. Indian Ocean receives huge amount of dust, about 25%, and then Southern Ocean little less, about 6%. So you can see the distribution pattern of different distribution of deposition pattern of dust fluxes to the old ocean, and you can say in this way, if you just see North Atlantic, North Pacific and Indian Oceans will be very highly impacted. But not only these are impacted, we have HNLC regions in the southern ocean. So that is also affected because of the deposition of the dust, especially the nitrogen. Mineral dust and transport, and this is the calculations that I talked about. About 120 million tons of dust is deposited over the Indian Ocean. Okay. Over the Pacific Ocean, about 70 million tons. Okay. Southern Ocean receives little bit less, about 20 tons or so, and then about 200 million tons in the Atlantic Ocean. That is very huge. And then Saharan dust is a major source, and then it can be transported from here to these places as well. 600 million ton is actually dust is emitted, and then out of this one is deposited and transported over the Pacific Ocean. So this is the bar indicates the emission, that how much emission is there, and so you can see this arid regions, they contribute about 150 million tons here, and then deposition in the very close to about 200 million tons. So almost like 25-30% is deposited here only, then in this region also. So you can calculate this deposition, they are very important source. Dust and paleoclimate, there is a huge connection between dust and paleoclimate, as well as actually kind of air quality as well. So air quality is also impacted by this one. There is a this in this one, for example, this is very important for researchers, especially MSc and PhD students, then how dust and paleoclimate is related. So here is the given is the delta 18O. Delta 18O is actually just to give you an idea, delta 18O is a very good proxy for warmer or cooler climate. So usually you see here, if the delta 18O is positive, if this is positive, this means warmer climate, not warming actually. And if it is negative, it means a cooler climate. It's actually a COOLER, cooler climate. Okay. So this is a Loess's. The Loess stratigraphy at the Green Bay Hollow Aeolians, which is typical mid-continental North American Loess's sequence along the Mississippi River, shows changes in the chemical properties in the Loess units and paleosols. Also shown is the proposed correlation of Loess's unit with the spec map deep sea oxygen record. So this is actually like what you see here. You see very high this period, Al2O3 means you have more Mississippi River Loess's, the calcium, titanium, magnesium and titanium oxide. You can see the concentrations and how the concentrations modern soil is there actually, and then you have different composition. This is the depth and depth of the Loess's that has been taken care, and if this is how, if you convert them into the ages, how they will look like, and there are sequences 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sequences are there. So you can see wherever there was actually a dust deposition, when there is a peak, there actually the climate was warmer, and then you can see a synchronized way that the when the dust deposition was less, it was cooler. So that kind of information can be taken from this one. Dust and paleoclimate, this is also reconstructed. You can reconstruct different kind of modern soil you have. Then you have Vignelli soils, mid-Holocene period, Holocene paleosols. I am sorry, this is this might be this geology students might can understand this one. Even I don't understand them very properly. Vignelli Loess, and then Brady soil, a horizon here you can see different they had been dated back, Brady soil and horizon B, and then Puria soil, Paleo Pleistocene. And you can see here in the deeper one, you can further down laminated Loess deposits. So they had been found out, and then they have been, this sequence has been dated back up to 12,700 years, and then the dust record has been reconstructed accordingly. If you want to read more about this one, this is very important, very good reverse slides on the dust and paleoclimate, the geologic record of dust in Quaternary. So if you just want to see this one, especially masters and PhD students, you should read this paper, and then you see that how if you are interested in this topic. Further readings, you can just read some of the review papers, peer reviewed papers in general, and books like desert dust in the global system. This is published in Springer, mineral dust. For further you can also discuss about some of this is by my colleague Ashwini Kumar and Arvind Singh. You can talk about long range global transport and characterization of dust. So this kind of things can give you some idea. I did not specifically discuss much about the climate that is related with the dust, because it's very complicated. So and today I just gave you some idea about how the global dust distribution pattern affect our system, global climate. So this is very important, but at the same time it is also important that how much interest you are putting in this one. So these are all research ideas, research topics that needs to be discussed. So this might not be very good, very helpful for the undergraduate students, but for PhD and PhD and master's student, this could serve a very important lecture. And you need to read more of the things on this one and just keep on doing that one. So thank you with this one. I think I have finished this dry and wet deposition of aerosols and different micronutrients that are there in the aerosols, how they can impact their ocean biogeochemistry, how they can affect the ocean pH, and how the deposition of the acidic species can lead to the ocean acidification, which in turn can can reduce the plankton productivity and then growth of the cells and then foraminiferas, as well as they can be bleached out. So lots of things that is related to dust deposition over the ocean has been covered in the last 3-4 lectures. So I hope that you would find these lectures very good for your understanding or for the beginning of the lecture. So yeah, this will be very important for you. So thank you. I'll stop here and see you in the next class. Till then, bye bye.